My fingers traced the jagged line, a brutal scar carved deep into the gleaming paint. Bile rose in my throat. Someone had taken a key? No. Gouged, savagely, down the entire side of my Tesla. My stomach plummeted. But that sickening violation? It was just the beginning. That single act of entitled rage over a freaking parking spot would end up costing the woman responsible $10,000 and her nursing license. My car, you see, has eyes. And its silent testimony unleashed hell. You won't believe how this escalated. Before this nightmare began, my life felt earned. Peaceful even. I'm a physical therapist, long hours, demanding patience, the constant juggle of empathy and clinical skill. It's fulfilling work, but it took years of dedication, mountains of student debt, and frankly, a lot of ramen dinners to get here. My sanctuary was my apartment, and my biggest indulgence, the symbol of finally making it, was my midnight silver Tesla Model 3. Seriously, I loved that car. Not in a flashy look-at-me way, but as a tangible reward. It was sleek, yes, and the tech was amazing, but it represented years of hard work finally paying off. Plus, driving electric felt like a small, good choice in a complicated world. I babied it, careful parking, regular washes, the works. It was more than metal and circuits. It was my achievement, my quiet joy. I live in one of those newer apartment complexes, nice amenities, generally respectful neighbors, all that jazz. The only real wrinkle? The parking garage. Not a lack of spots, usually, but a definite hierarchy. Everyone coveted the spots near the elevators on each floor. Wider, easier access, less chance of door dings from careless neighbors.
Me?
I appreciated those spots, especially after a long day wrestling limbs and soothing sore muscles. But I wasn't territorial. First come, first served. If my preferred area was full, I'd just find another spot further down. Simple. Adulting 101. Apparently, some people skipped that class. People like Brenda. I didn't know her name at first. I just knew the presence. Late 40s maybe, with that aggressively sharp blonde bob that looked like it could double as a weapon. Always clad in expensive athletic wear, though the only marathon she seemed to be running was one of perpetual annoyance. Oversized sunglasses, usually pushed atop her head like a tiara of judgment, regardless of the lighting conditions. And a resting face that screamed, "The world is my personal inconvenience." Our first real encounter set the tone. I just pulled into a blessedly empty prime spot near the elevator after a grueling shift. As I gathered my things, a huge white SUV swung into the lane behind me, stopping abruptly. Behind the wheel, sunglasses firmly in place despite the dim garage lighting, sat Brenda. She wasn't just waiting. She was staring. A hard, icy glare that felt less like, "Darn, you got the spot," and more like, "How dare you exist in my chosen coordinates?" I gave a small, awkward wave. Maybe she was having a terrible day? Her window lowered just a fraction. I couldn't make out the exact words, but the low, venomous mutter included something about always and these damn Teslas. Her perfectly manicured fingers tapped an impatient rhythm on the steering wheel. Then, she gave her engine a pointed little rev, a sound full of impotent fury, before peeling away to find another spot. Okay, super unpleasant, I thought. But I shook my head. People get weird about parking. It was probably nothing. Just a flash of garage rage. I had no idea that wasn't a flash. It was the first drop of venom from a snake I hadn't realized was coiling right there in my own building. That first encounter, the glare and the engine rev, should have been a 5-alarm fire warning. Instead, I mentally filed it under weird neighbor stuff and tried to forget it. Big mistake. Because Brenda wasn't just having a bad day. She seemed to operate under a permanent cloud of entitled fury, and my car, parked in her perceived territory, became her lightning rod. The harassment started subtly, like a dripping faucet designed to slowly drive you mad. Her massive white SUV began appearing parked unnervingly close to my driver's side door. Not touching, always just within the lines, but close enough that I had to perform contortions worthy of a Cirque du Soleil performer just to squeeze in without brushing against her pristine vehicle. My stomach would clench every time I saw it. It felt intentional, a physical crowding, an assertion of dominance. Then came the bins. Our floor had communal trash and recycling bins near the elevators. Suddenly, if I dared to park in one of the good spots, I'd often find a large, smelly trash bin positioned perfectly behind my Tesla. Not completely blocking me, just enough to force me to get out, wrestle the heavy, dirty bin aside, get back in, and then finally leave, feeling grimy and irritated. If confronted, oh, I could hear her imaginary, sickly sweet denial. Goodness, it must have rolled. These things have minds of their own. Ignoring it only fueled her. Like poking a wasp's nest, my lack of reaction seemed to escalate her tactics. She graduated from passive-aggressive parking to audible complaints clearly staged for my benefit. I'd be walking towards the elevator, and her voice would carry down the concrete corridor, loud and sharp, supposedly on a phone call. Can you believe some people? Think because they drive those silent electric things, they own the place, or new residents just have no respect for those of us who've been here longer. I'd only been there a few months myself, but Brenda wasn't one to let facts interfere with her narrative. The hallway encounters became mini showdowns. Her eyes would lock onto mine, sweeping over me with unconcealed disdain. A slight curl of the lip, a deliberate lack of acknowledgement. It was classic mean girl behavior, weaponized for the residential setting. The knot of anxiety in my gut tightened each time I had to go down to the garage. What fresh annoyance awaited me today? Would I have to play human Tetris to get into my car? Would a bin block my path? Would I have to endure the judgmental stare down? Then came the false accusation. I received a polite but formal email from building management. A complaint had been filed regarding excessive noise from my apartment late at night, specifically loud music and banging sounds. I was floored. I live alone, work long hours, and am usually asleep by 10 p.m. I barely own a speaker loud enough to bother anyone. I responded immediately, explaining this, utterly bewildered. It took me a day to connect the dots. Brenda. Who else would invent such a baseless complaint? It was another angle of attack, trying to paint me as the problem resident. Management eventually dropped it after I politely insisted it was mistaken, but the attempt itself felt insidious. She wasn't just trying to annoy me, she was trying to cause actual trouble for me. The direct confrontation happened about 2 months into this escalating Cold War. I got home late, utterly drained. Miraculously, a spot right by the elevator was free. Relief washed over me as I pulled in. But the relief was short-lived. As I grabbed my bag, Brenda appeared, marching out of the elevator lobby like a stormtrooper in Lululemon. She stopped dead when she saw me and my car. Are you kidding me? Her voice wasn't just sharp, it was practically vibrating with outrage. That is the 4th time this week you've deliberately taken this spot. My exhaustion vanished, replaced by weary frustration. Brenda, I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could manage, these spots aren't assigned. It's first come, first served. And I highly doubt I've parked here 4 times this week. Her perfectly drawn eyebrows nearly launched off her forehead. Some of us rely on these specific spots. We pay a fortune to live here. Maybe show some consideration for your neighbors who actually need this access. She gestured vaguely, implying some urgent, invisible need that only proximity to the elevator could solve. There are at least 5 other empty spots just down this row, I countered, pointing. My hand felt clammy. I just parked where it was open, like everyone else does. She let out a scoff, a sound like air escaping a punctured tire. Typical. Just typical. She then stormed past me, close enough that her oversized handbag deliberately slammed against my arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but definitely not accidental. She didn't pause, didn't apologize. Just marched off, muttering about entitled millennials, even though I'm well past that demographic. My heart was hammering against my ribs. The invented noise complaint, the constant microaggressions, and now this? This wasn't just about parking anymore. This woman had a serious vendetta, and it was starting to genuinely scare me. The final straw before the keying incident wasn't passive. It was aggressive and dangerous. I was carefully backing out of my spot one morning, checking mirrors, using the backup camera. Suddenly, Brenda's white behemoth came tearing around the corner, way too fast for a confined garage. Tires screeched on the concrete as she slammed on her brakes, missing my rear bumper by inches. My hand flew to the horn, a short, sharp blast of pure reflex. My breath caught in my throat. She didn't look apologetic. She looked furious, as if I were the one who'd almost caused a collision. She mouthed something that looked chillingly like, "Watch yourself," then stomped on the accelerator, engine roaring unnecessarily loud as she sped towards the exit ramp. That near miss solidified it. This woman was completely unhinged. Her entitlement wasn't just annoying, it was becoming reckless. I debated going to management again, documenting the driving incident. But what proof did I have beyond my word? Her near miss versus my backing out? It felt like it could easily be twisted. That's when I made the conscious decision. Sentry Mode. Always on. Every time I parked in that garage. Tesla's built-in dashcam and security system records movement and impacts around the car. Maybe it would catch her yelling obscenities at my car. Maybe it would capture a door ding. At least I'd have something. I never, ever imagined what it would actually end up recording. I thought I was preparing for petty vandalism. I was actually arming myself against a felony. It was a Tuesday morning. Normal routine. Wake up, coffee, mentally prep for my first patient. I headed down to the garage, keys in hand, mind already on muscle groups and rehab plans. I rounded the familiar concrete pillar towards my parking spot. Not even a prime one, just a regular space further down the row. And I stopped. Cold. The air left my lungs in a silent whoosh. My work bag slipped from my grasp, hitting the concrete with a dull thud I barely registered. There, under the flat fluorescent glow of the garage lights, was a brutal, jagged scar running the length of my passenger side. From the front fender, slicing across both doors, digging deep into the rear quarter panel. This wasn't an accidental scrape. This was deliberate. Vicious. Someone had taken a key, or something sharper, and dragged it with force and intent, carving through the midnight silver paint, down to the pale primer, even hitting bare metal in spots. No, oh no. The words were a choked whisper. My vision blurred. It felt like a physical blow. My beautiful car, my hard-earned symbol of achievement, violated. Mutilated. Tears welled, hot and angry. Why? Who could be so hateful? Then, the image flashed in my mind, Brenda's face, contorted with fury during our last confrontation. The near miss. The petty harassments. The sheer, bubbling cauldron of resentment she seemed to carry. It couldn't be anyone else. The certainty settled in my stomach like ice. This was her. This was her pathetic, cowardly escalation. The initial wave of shock and hurt receded, replaced by a white-hot surge of rage unlike anything I'd felt before. How dare she? How dare she take her petty grievances out on my property with such malice? The audacity was breathtaking. But rage wouldn't fix the deep gouges in my car door. I took a ragged breath, forcing the logical part of my brain to engage through the red mist. Proof. I needed absolute proof. Confronting her now would be useless. She'd lie, deny everything, probably twist it around somehow. And then, like a lifeline thrown in a storm, Sentry Mode. My heart started hammering again, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. Hope warred with dread. Had it worked? Had it caught anything? Was the camera angle right? Did the motion sensor trigger? My hands trembled as I unlocked the car, the familiar chime sounding alien in the tense silence. I slid into the driver's seat, ignoring the beautiful interior, focusing only on the large center screen. Navigate to the dashcam viewer, tap the Sentry icon. Please, please, please. A list of recorded events populated the screen. My heart sank slightly. Several short clips, cars driving past, someone walking to the elevator far down the row. Nothing definitive. Maybe she was too quick? Maybe she knew how to avoid triggering it?
Wait. There.
A longer clip, timed at 1:47 a.m. The thumbnail showed a figure standing right next to my passenger side door. My breath caught. I jabbed the play button. The infrared footage flickered to life, casting the garage in an eerie black and white. And there she was, unmistakably Brenda. The sharp haircut silhouetted, the determined set of her shoulders. She glanced furtively left, then right, down the deserted garage aisle. Satisfied she was alone, she reached into the pocket of her jacket, pulled out something small, metallic. Keys glinted under the stark lighting. My blood turned to ice water. I watched, horrified, as she leaned in. Her face, partially illuminated, wasn't just angry. It was twisted into a mask of sheer, ugly spite. A cruel smirk played on her lips. And then she did it. She pressed the key firmly against the front fender. The microphone picked up the faint but distinct, sickening sound, screech, as she dragged it deliberately, forcefully, along the panel, across the front door, across the rear door, ending with a final, vicious jab into the rear quarter panel. She stood back for a fraction of a second, almost admiring her destruction, the smirk still visible. Then, quickly, she shoved the keys back in her pocket, cast one more paranoid glance around, and practically scuttled away towards the elevator lobby, disappearing from view. I sat there, frozen, staring at the screen as the horrific loop played again. Brenda, key in hand, malice in her eyes, methodically, brutally keying my car. The evidence was absolute, irrefutable, chillingly clear. My car hadn't just been vandalized. It had been a silent witness, recording its own assault. The rage was still there, but it was different now.
Cold.
Focused. She thought she was so clever. She thought she could lash out in the dead of night and face no consequences. She thought her entitlement gave her a free pass for destruction. She had no earthly idea what she had just unleashed. This wasn't just about fixing pain anymore. This was about accountability. This was about justice. And thanks to a silent camera and her own venomous stupidity, I had everything I needed to bring it crashing down on her head. Staring at that damning footage, the loop of Brenda's malicious act playing over and over, I felt a chilling calm descend over the initial storm of rage. This wasn't about emotional reaction anymore. This was about strategy. She had crossed a line, a big, expensive, felony-level line, and I was going to ensure she dealt with the full consequences. Step 1. Preserve the evidence. I immediately saved the Sentry Mode file, not just to the car's USB drive, but also uploaded it securely to multiple cloud storage accounts and emailed it to myself. Paranoia? Maybe, but this footage was gold. Pure, unadulterated proof. Step 2. Document the scene. Before moving the car an inch, I took dozens of high-resolution photos and several walk-around videos with my phone. I focused on the depth of the scratches, the length, capturing how the metal glinted through the violated paint under the harsh garage lights. Every photo felt like another nail in Brenda's coffin. Step 3. Official channels. I called my insurance agent, explained the situation, mentioned the vandalism, and the video evidence. They were helpful but confirmed what I expected. A police report was essential. My next call was to the non-emergency police line. 2 officers arrived within the hour. I met them downstairs by my damaged car. I calmly recounted the history, the parking disputes, the escalating hostility, the false noise complaint, the near-miss incident, culminating in finding the damage this morning. I presented the pattern of behavior first, then the ace up my sleeve. And the entire act, I said, keeping my voice steady, was recorded by my car's security system. Their professional demeanor shifted perceptibly. "You have video of the actual keying?" one officer asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "Clear as day," I replied, holding up the USB drive containing the footage. We went up to my apartment. I plugged the drive into my laptop and hit play. We watched in silence as Brenda appeared on screen, checked her surroundings, pulled out her keys, and methodically carved into my car's paintwork. The faint screech from the laptop speakers seemed to echo in the room. When it finished, the taller officer blew out a slow breath. "Okay then. Not much ambiguity there." They took down all of Brenda's information, name, apartment number. They carefully explained that, given the likely repair cost for a Tesla, this was well into felony territory for criminal mischief or vandalism. Felony. The word felt heavy, appropriate. They assured me they would be paying Brenda a visit. While they pursued the criminal side, I tackled the financial damage. Getting repair estimates was sickening. 2 Tesla-certified body shops confirmed my fears. The multi-coat paint, the specific panels damaged, the sheer length of the gouge. Quote 1, $9,850. Quote 2, $10,300. Over $10,000 of damage inflicted out of pure spite over a parking spot. The absurdity was staggering. Later that day, I saw the police cruiser parked outside the building again. I didn't witness the interaction, but hushed tones and what sounded like a brief, shrill outburst could be heard faintly from down the hall near Brenda's unit later that evening. The wheels were in motion. The next few days, the atmosphere in the building was thick with unspoken knowledge. Neighbors gave me pitying glances or tight-lipped nods. Clearly, the police visit hadn't gone unnoticed. It was during this time, fueled by a burning curiosity about what kind of person does this, that I confirmed her profession. A quick online search coupled with remembering her scrubs confirmed it. Brenda, last name, registered nurse at a prominent local hospital. A nurse. A caregiver. Someone held to rigorous ethical standards by the State Board of Nursing. Felony vandalism, an act demonstrating clear lack of impulse control, disregard for others' property, and, frankly, moral turpitude, doesn't exactly scream fit to practice. This discovery presented a new dilemma. Reporting her to the nursing board felt like a nuclear option. It could end her career. Was that justified? Then I pictured her face in the Sentry Mode video again, the smirk, the vicious satisfaction. I thought about the potential risk someone with that level of vindictiveness and poor judgment could pose in a position of trust, caring for vulnerable patients. What if that entitlement bled into her work? The decision wasn't made lightly, but it felt necessary. It wasn't just about my car anymore. It was potentially about patient safety. I gathered the police report number and the case details. I went to the State Board of Nursing website and filed a formal complaint, outlining the facts of the felony vandalism charge and referencing the police report and incontrovertible video evidence. I stated the facts cleanly, clinically almost, and submitted it. It was out of my hands now. The board would conduct its own investigation. The following weeks involved a lot of procedural steps. Brenda was formally charged. She hired a lawyer, naturally. There were legal rumblings, attempts to negotiate, probably frantic efforts on her part to minimize the damage. I heard secondhand that her defense was attempting the momentary lapse of judgment angle. The video blew that out of the water. There was nothing momentary or lapsed about her deliberate actions in that footage. Then came a moment I hadn't expected. I was walking towards the garage elevator one afternoon when the doors opened, and there she was, Brenda. Her face was pale, strained. The usual arrogant mask was gone, replaced by a hunted look. Our eyes met. For a split second, pure panic flared in her eyes, quickly followed by a flash of her old, familiar anger. She opened her mouth, maybe to snarl, maybe to plead, I don't know. Before she could speak, I just looked her dead in the eye, held her gaze for a beat, and said nothing. I didn't need to. The knowledge of what I had, the video, the police report, the pending charges, hung heavy in the air between us. I saw the fight drain out of her. She visibly deflated, looked away, and scurried past me without a word. It wasn't a loud confrontation, but in that silent exchange, the power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. The evidence spoke for itself. Ultimately, faced with the damning video, Brenda took a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to a significant misdemeanor vandalism charge, serious enough to carry weight, but avoiding the full felony conviction stigma, likely at the cost of agreeing to immediate and full restitution. The court order came through. Brenda was legally mandated to pay $10,175, the final, exact cost of the repairs to my Tesla. The nursing board investigation ran its parallel course. A criminal conviction related to dishonesty or moral failings is poison to a nursing license. They reviewed the court records, the evidence. The outcome was inevitable. First came the whispers from neighbors, Brenda's fighting with her licensing board, then the confirmation. Her profile vanished from the hospital directory. The state board registry updated. License suspended. Further disciplinary action, likely revocation, was pending. Her career, built over years, sacrificed on the altar of parking spot rage. Life began to return to normal, but a new kind of normal. Getting my Tesla back from the shop, the paint perfect, the scar completely gone, felt like closing a wound. It was more than just a fixed car. It was a restoration of peace. The garage no longer felt like a battleground. The court-ordered restitution payments started arriving via the official channels. Each payment felt like a small victory, a tangible consequence for her actions hitting her where it hurt, her wallet. Knowing she was legally forced to pay for every cent of the damage she maliciously inflicted brought a quiet, profound sense of justice. And then, one day, she was simply gone. No forwarding address, no dramatic exit. Her SUV disappeared from the garage, and a for rent sign appeared on her apartment door. The financial strain of $10,000 restitution plus legal fees, coupled with the loss of her nursing income and the likely humiliation within the community, must have been too much. Her departure wasn't loud, but it was final. Reflecting on it now, the whole saga feels utterly insane. A parking spot. That's all it took to trigger a cascade of events leading to felony-level charges, $10,000 in damages, and the implosion of a professional career. It's a stark lesson in how deeply corrosive entitlement can be. Brenda genuinely believed she was justified, that her perceived slight gave her the right to lash out violently. It also hammered home the power of evidence. Without that Sentry Mode footage, it would have been a messy, unprovable, she said. That silent, digital witness didn't just protect my property, it ensured accountability. If you have security features like that, use them. Always. There's no triumphalism in knowing I played a role in her career ending. It's a somber consequence. But it's a consequence she chose when she picked up that key. It wasn't revenge I sought, but fairness. The satisfaction comes not from her downfall, but from the restoration of balance. My car is whole, my peace of mind is back, and Brenda learned, in the most brutal way possible, that some lines, once crossed, lead to ruin. And sometimes, the quiet click of a recording camera is all it takes to bring it all to light.